Tonight on Y News. Malacañang asserts that there is no directive from President Rodrigo Duterte yet on the disengagement of U.S. troops in Mindanao. The Department of Justice has approved the indictment of Talitay Maguindanao Vice Mayor Abdul Wahab Sabal and 3 others for illegal possession of explosives. The Philippine National Police is now ready to file complaints against a prime suspect in the night market blast in Davao City.
The upper and lower houses of Congress approved the postponement of the barangay and SK elections. The Department of Health confirms 2 new Zika virus cases in Iloilo City. And a dance troupe from the United States left its audience in awe with a thrilling performance on a cliff in central China.
Y News begins now.
UNTV News and Rescue Command Center. This is Y News with Angelo, Castro III, and Gerry Alcantara.
Good evening. President Rodrigo Duterte has no directives yet on the disengagement of U.S. forces from the Mindanao region. Nel Marie Bohok will tell us why.
Malacañang does not see any negative effects yet on the implementation of Visiting Forces Agreement and Enhanced Defense Cooperation Agreement or EDCA between the Philippines following the statement of President Rodrigo Duterte regarding withdrawal of U.S. forces from Mindanao region.
Policy set in stone. Okay? That policy yet. But these are backgrounders for possible future action.
Presidential spokesman Ernesto Abella said the president has no directives yet on the disengagement of U.S. troops from Mindanao. Malacañang also clarified that one of the objectives of the president in the said statement is to protect the American soldiers from threats posed by extremist groups.
He was also referring to the fact that in Mindanao, especially in the areas where, in Muslim areas, in Moro areas, their lives are in danger. They would be kidnapped, they would be shot at, whatever it is. In other words, that was part of the reason why he said go.
Meanwhile, U.S. has not received a formal request for the withdrawal of U.S. Special Forces from Mindanao. According to U.S. State Department spokesman John Kirby, they haven't received any official communication from the Philippines on the matter, even though they are already aware of President Duterte's statement.
As far as we know, haven't actually been made or certainly communicated to the United States government. Secondly, this is really more of a matter for the Defense Department if and when such a decision would be transmitted by the Philippine government. But as far as we know, there hasn't been. So it really would be premature to get ahead of that.
Kirby also assures that the United States of America will still be committed to their alliance with the Philippines. Nel Maribuho, UNTV News and Rescue, Malacañang.
The Armed Forces of the Philippines believes that the withdrawal of U.S. troops in Mindanao will have minimal effect on the country's anti-terrorism campaign. Brian De Paz will tell us why.
The AFP is very careful in stating their stand on the announcement of President Rodrigo Duterte concerning the withdrawal of U.S. servicemen from Mindanao. But according to AFP Public Affairs Chief Colonel Edgar Arevalo, the 107 U.S. soldiers in Zamboanga City is a token number only and cannot affect the whole campaign of the Philippines against terrorism.
The effect is not enough in such a way that we will not be able to accomplish our mission.
Currently, the 107 U.S. military personnel in Mindanao are concentrated at Western Mindanao Command Headquarters at Camp Don Basilio Navarro, Calarian, Zamboanga City. Arevalo says the U.S. soldiers provide intelligence, technical assistance and trainings to Filipino counter-terrorist forces.
We have been providing us with assistance. That being the case, hindi malayo. na maging subject sila ng attack.
American presence in the area started in 2003 with the creation of Joint Special Operation Task Force Philippines, which was tasked to provide anti-terror training to the AFP. Colonel Arevalo also clarified that these U.S. service personnel are not participating in the ongoing military offensive against the Abu Sayyaf terrorists in Sulu and Basilan. The AFP Public Affairs Office Chief also added that they are yet to receive any specific directive as to how this pronouncement will be effective. AFP assures the people and allies that Philippine-U.S. defense relations remain rock solid. Activities lined up for the year will continue without interruption. Consultative planning activities for 2017 and beyond likewise remain on track. Brian De Paz, UNTV News and Rescue, Camp Aguinaldo.
Some senators want to review and revisit existing laws pertaining to the presence of U.S. military forces in the country. This after President Rodrigo Duterte says that he wants the U.S. military forces to leave Mindanao due to additional conflicts and possible security threats from rebel group Abu Sayyaf. Senator Tito Soto says the government should review first the provisions in the Visiting Forces Agreement or VFA and the Enhanced Defense Cooperation Agreement or EDCA. For his part, Senator Cheese Escudero agrees with the president and reiterates that American troops have no business in the country.
Whether it is really to remove the troops or just for safety reasons, whatever it is, we still have to look into the agreements, sa BFA, sa EDCA. Kailangan pag-aralan muna natin yon para makalaman natin kung ano ang mga possibilities.
Sa ilalim ng saligang batas, bawal magkaroon ng tropang Amerikano dayuhan na mag-operate sa loob ng ating bansa. So kung ang tinutukoy ni Pangulong Duterte ay yung mga sundalong Amerikano na nandun base sa bisa ng VFA, hindi sila dapat talaga engaged in any combat operations. Ngayon kung meron, matagal naman na tayong may duda na meron, yon ang dapat pigilan talaga.
Liberal Party lawmakers deny allegations of a plot to impeach President Rodrigo Duterte. Grace Casin tells us why.
There is no reason to impeach President Rodrigo Duterte. This is the response of a Liberal Party or LP lawmaker in the lower house of Congress, following President Duterte's allegation that the former ruling party plans to oust him.
Gusto po namin na magtagumpay ang pagkapangulo ni President Duterte dahil iisa lang naman tayo, mga Pilipino tayo.
Of the 33 members of the LP in the lower house, 28 joined the majority group that promised to support the policies of President Duterte, including his war on illegal drugs. Senators allied with the former dominant party also strongly denied the allegations. Senator Franklin Drilon says the LP is not planning to impeach Duterte, while Senator Leila de Lima believes the allegation of an impeachment plot against the president may have stemmed from her strongly opposition against the chief executive's policy on illegal drugs.
Wala po kaming binabalak na ganun. We have not met on this and we deny that we are part of such plot if indeed that plot exists.
So siguro ako ang tinitingnan nila. Sa akin sila galit. And since yellow ako, ang interpretation nila may plano akong i-oust o impeach ang ating Pangulo. So saan naman po nanggagaling yan? Di nga kami nagmi-meeting.
Vice President Leni Robredo, other known LP ally, plans to talk to the president regarding the issue. Her camp says this is to clarify that LP has no plan to impeach him and that the former ruling party is in full support of the reforms being implemented by the administration. One of the members of the so-called supermajority group in the lower house, meanwhile, assures that any impeachment complaint filed against the president will not succeed.
I don't think if it's really a numbers game, no, which usually is, I don't think they have the numbers to do any impeachment moves here at the House of Representatives.
In the response of LP's denial of the impeachment plan, the Malacañang has said to this.
Oh, that's good that they're denying.
Grace Casin, UNTV News and Rescue, House of Representatives.
The Department of Justice has approved the indictment of Talitay Maguindanao Vice Mayor Abdul Wahab Sabal and 3 others for illegal possession of explosives. Meanwhile, the police says there's no concrete evidence yet linking Sabal to the Davao blast. Roderick Mendoza will tell us why.
The Department of Justice has found sufficient evidence to indict suspected narco-politician Talitay Maguindanao Vice Mayor Abdul Wahab Sabal and 3 others. In an inquest resolution issued today, the Justice Department has approved the filing of illegal possession of firearms, ammunitions, and explosives against Sabal, his wife Mohana, and Nasser Maulana and Norodin Abbas. An improvised explosive device made up of a 60mm mortar round with a radio and telephone attached to it was seized from the suspects when they were arrested at Awang Airport on September 8. Police says the IED found in Sabal's vehicle was the same kind used in the deadly bombing in Davao City almost 2 weeks ago. But authorities say this doesn't confirm Sabal's involvement in the blast that killed more than a dozen, most of whom are massage therapists. The police are still gathering evidence that would directly link Sabal to the bombing.
Doon po kasi sa Maguindanao area, yung mga common kasi yung ganong klaseng explosives, yung mortar rounds na yun. So, as to yung talagang to brief our public na yun po ay iniimbestigahan po natin.
Meanwhile, DOJ also approved the indictment of Sabal's wife for possession of illegal drugs because she was found with 12 sachets of shabu. The charges will be filed with the Regional Trial Court in Cotabato. Roderick Mendoza, UNTV News and Rescue, Manila.
The Philippine National Police is now ready to file complaints against the prime suspect in Davao City bombing who left the bag with a bomb in the night market on September 2. The police, however, will not include Talitay Vice Mayor Abdul Wahab Sabal in the filing of the case. Bernard Dadis will tell us why.
A multiple murder case and multiple frustrated murder will be filed by the Philippine National Police against the prime suspect of Davao City blast. The police will also include in their complaint the violation of the Human Security Act of 2007. According to the PNP, the identity of the suspect is already known with the help of the witnesses by showing them the pictures of the criminals or terrorists that are in the police files.
We are ready to file the case actually by tomorrow. As to the testimony of our witness, they are very certain. As to how it was presented, it is the art of investigation.
But the Special Investigation Task Force has not yet named the suspect, even the name of his group. The head of the SITG says that the motive of the bombing is still not established.
We confined ourselves dun sa bomber because that is what our evidence says so. Now, as to the link of this and association of this is another matter for investigation.
The police already has tracker teams in search for the suspect.
It's a good thing that our city government is giving that reward kasi napakahirap naman maghanap ng tao lalong-lalo na yung kung may kumukup-kup sa kanila.
Meanwhile, not included in the complaint was Talitay Vice Mayor Abdul Wahab Sabal. De Leon states that there is still no concrete evidence that proves the involvement of Sabal, who was arrested for bringing gun, bomb, and a certain gram of shabu.
We have evidence, but we need already some corroboration to finally link. Yan ang isa sa challenge and difficulty sa investigation.
Bernard Dadis, UNTV News and Rescue, Philippines.
Philippine National Police Chief Ronald De La Rosa has ordered the eradication of private armed groups in Samar. Leah Ilagan will tell us why.
I want to see peace and order in yung lugar na yun. Kausapin mo si Gobernador, kausapin mo si Congressman, kung sila yung mga patron ng mga pagsayan, kausapin mo na pagkahan tayo.
PNP Director General Ronald Bato de la Rosa has ordered Samar PNP Provincial Director Elmer Pelobello to fully eradicate private armed groups that causes disorder in the area. This after the families of those killed in western and northern Samar have asked the help of De La Rosa to stop the crimes in their area in connection with illegal drugs proliferating in the place. For now, De La Rosa said they still cannot name the individuals involved in illegal drug trades and those bribed by the suspected drug lord of Eastern Visayas, Kerwin Espinosa. According to De La Rosa, though all affidavits are prepared, charges are yet to be filed at the Office of the Ombudsman. The list submitted by Alberta Chief Police Inspector Jovi Espinido to PNP Regional Office 8 shows that there are 74 government officials and employees consisting of policemen, prosecutors, senators, governors, mayors, and barangay officials, and the 154 civilians involved in Kerwin's illegal drug activities.
Big man walking doon sa pulisya. Bumalik lang siya dito, sigurado ako may kalalagyan siya. Kaya natapos niya ako niloko na mag-surrender daw siya. And then intervene na gusto yung pamilya niya. Bumalik siya dito. Sigurado ako, mamamatay talaga yun. Dahil sigurado ako, lalaban talaga yun.
De La Rosa added that anytime from now, the prosecutor's office will issue the warrant of arrest against Alberta Mayor Rolando Espinosa Sr., who has filed a counter-affidavit for the charges filed against him. Leia Ilagan, UNTV News and Rescue, Camp Crame.
President Rodrigo Duterte reiterates that there was no mention of a go signal to the Indonesian government to execute Mary Jane Veloso during his meeting with Indonesian President Joko Widodo. Jun Soria will tell us why.
Napag-usapan lang naman. Pag sabi namin na we will implement the laws, I told them, hindi ko na hinintay. I said, Mr. President, so as not for him to apologize or anything, said, Mr. President, I have my laws here. It's good that you have the death penalty here, because at least you can bring it down to the barest minimum. I said, go ahead and implement the law. We never mentioned about Veloso. Sinabi ko lang, we will respect the judgments of your courts.
This was President Rodrigo Duterte's clarification over issues that allegedly he has given his approval to the Indonesian government to execute Filipino drug mule Mary Jane Veloso. President asserted that there was no mention about it during their talks. Meanwhile, Senator Laila de Lima is disappointed over the news that President Rodrigo Duterte will allow the execution of Mary Jane Veloso if laws in Indonesia will demand it. The senator, who was the former Department of Justice Secretary, mentioned that the previous administration has put so much effort to spare the life of Mary Jane, highlighting in their plea that her testimony is crucial for the conviction of her recruiters. She says the government should rethink its position and give Mary Jane a chance to prove her innocence. Yun Soriao, UNTV News and Rescue, Quezon City.
Meanwhile, in a press briefing today, Indonesian President Joko Widodo says Indonesia would respect the request from the Philippine court for Mary Jane Veloso to testify as a witness in the ongoing trial of her alleged trafficker. However, due to her current status as a convicted drug smuggler, Veloso is only allowed to submit a written testimony as she is forbidden from traveling to the Philippines. A local website of a news agency in Indonesia, Jakarta Globe, says that the issue could have been a result of mistranslations in President Duterte's diplomatic message.
Next in Y News. The upper and the lower houses approved the postponement of the barangay and SK elections. The Department of Environment and Natural Resources says 30% of jeepney drivers in Metro Manila have tuberculosis due to air pollution.
And the Department of Health confirms 2 new Zika virus cases in Iloilo City.
Y News will be right back. lawmakers approved the 2017 proposed budget of the Office of the President and the Office of the Vice President. During the hearing of the House Committee on Appropriations, Member Solons did not pose any objection on the proposed budget of the Office of the President worth 19.9 billion pesos was presented. The 700% increase from the current 2 billion peso budget of the Office of the President is due to the Philippines hosting of the 50th ASEAN founding anniversary in 2017. Meanwhile, committee also approved the proposed budget of the Office of the Vice President worth 428.6 million pesos, which has decreased by 14% because of cost savings in office rental and the limited expenses of Vice President Leni Robredo.
Mr. Chair, the minority has no question to raise in connection with the budget proposal of the Office of the Vice President.
The Senate Committee on Ethics and Privileges has not yet decided on the complaint filed against Senator Laila de Lima in relation to her alleged involvement in drug operations. Joyce Balancho will tell us why.
Senator Laila de Lima will respect whatever decision the Senate Committee on Ethics and Privileges will have on the complaint filed against her in relation to her being an alleged protector of drug syndicates. In the complaint, Attorney Abelardo de Jesus reiterated President Rodrigo Duterte's speech last August 17, pinning down the senator for receiving campaign funds from drug lords. Though she did not attend the hearing held by the committee early today, the senator affirmed that she already filed an answer to the complaint.
I respect my colleagues, I respect the ethics committee, so I leave it to their good sense and sense of fairness, their sense of judgment, kung ano ang gusto nilang gawin.
The committee handling this complaint will be needing additional hearing days before resolving the issue. Some members of the committee said they don't have a copy of the complaint filed by Attorney Abelardo de Jesus against the lady senator. In the hearing earlier, Senator Panfilo Lacson moved to determine first if the complaint is sufficient in form and substance in accordance to the committee rules. Senator Franklin Dirlon, however, believes the issue of the jurisdiction should be resolved first, stating a precedent in 2001 when the Senate dismissed the complaint immediately after recognizing the lack of jurisdiction on the matter.
Kasi useless, even if you determine that the form and substance is sufficient, if we have no jurisdiction, what is the use of that ruling?
Attorney Karen Jimeno was present at the hearing earlier to serve as the general counsel.
You have to determine form and substance, which requires just looking at the acts, whether they were committed at the time the respondent was already senator. And I think that by relation to the other sections of the rules, it would necessarily entail looking at jurisdiction in a...
The committee chair, Senator Tito Soto, meanwhile stressed the need to immediately resolve the complaint in order to avoid speculations that the committee is moving in favor of either the complainant or the respondent.
Yung issue na pinagtatalunan kanina na about form and substance at jurisdiction, sa tingin ko dapat pagsamahin na namin. Ang tingin ko dapat isabay na. Ang desisyon na gagawin doon, isabay na. Para wala nang nabibitin pa.
If the complaint is insufficient in form and substance, it will be given back to Attorney De Jesus for changes. In fact, Senator Soto said the complainant submitted a supplemental affidavit but was rejected by the committee because it was notarized. The Senate Ethics Committee is expected to resume its hearing this Thursday. Joyce Balancho, UNTV News and Rescue, Senate of the Philippines.
Both houses of Congress has approved today on third and final reading the bill that seeks to postpone the upcoming October 2016 Barangay and Sangguniang Kabataan elections. The House and the Senate versions of the bill seek to defer the Barangay and SK elections to the fourth Monday of October next year or October 23, 2017. The two versions of the bill also set the next elections after 2017 to the second Monday of May in 2020 and 3 years thereafter. President Rodrigo Duterte himself was for the postponement, saying drug money might influence and be used to fund their candidates. The two bills will no longer go to the bicameral conference as both houses of Congress plan to ratify them by tomorrow. The Supreme Court today affirms the charges filed against former Budget Undersecretary Mario Relampagos and former Technology and Resource Center Director General Antonio Ortiz in relation to the alleged misuse of Senator Juan Ponce Enrile's pork barrel. In a resolution, the court dismisses the petitions filed by Relampagos and Ortiz, which challenged the Sandiganbayan's finding of probable cause against them. The Sandiganbayan rules that the inclusion of Ortiz in the recital of information and the amendment of sub-aro to SARO were mere formal amendments.
The court agreed with the Sandiganbayan and held that the Sandiganbayan did not commit grave abuse of discretion, neither did it commit error when it found probable cause to issue warrants of arrest against petitioners.
The Department of Environment and Natural Resources and other stakeholders worry over the adverse effects of air pollution in Metro Manila. Ray Pelayo will tell us why.
The Department of Environment and Natural Resources reveals that almost a third of the jeepney drivers in Metro Manila are infected with tuberculosis. This is due to air pollution, in which 80% comes from the 3 million vehicles traveling in the region daily, based on the data from the Coalition of Clean Air Advocates Philippines. Secretary Gina Lopez said corruption is one of the reasons why problem in pollution has not been solved. And one of these is in the Private Emission Testing Centers, or PETC, which is under the Land Transportation Office, or LTO. PETCs are the ones in charge of issuing certificates of emission compliance as part of the requirements in registering a vehicle. But reports have reached the office of Secretary Lopez that despite no shows or non-appearances of motor vehicles on PETCs, certificates are still issued.
Australia and sa Japan or Canada like that, talagang kailangan ipacheck yung kotse bagong mag-anda, di ba? Eh dito wala, bayad lang. Tawag dyan, non-appearance, bayad lang. Sige, you go there. So ang daming smoke belchers.
Among those heavily affected by air pollution are jeepney drivers.
30% of the jeepney drivers have TB. Have tuberculosis. Why? Kasi walang barrier. Di ba? Nagmamaneho sila. Lahat ng amoy ng tambucha pumupunta sa kanila.
DOTR removes LTO's power to authorize and monitor motor vehicle emission testing centers to prevent corruption. And they are expecting an improved air quality after a month of strict implementation of the Clean Air Act. Ray Pelayo, UNTV News and Rescue, Quezon City.
Two new cases of Zika virus infection were confirmed by the Department of Health in Iloilo City. Aiko Miguel will tell us why.
22 new cases were confirmed on Sunday in the upmarket southern area of Bangkok, part of the city's central business district, including a pregnant woman who later gave birth with no complications. The Health Ministry on Monday urged Thais not to panic, as it said that the virus was not deadly or contagious, though in fact it can be passed on sexually, and an official added that it did not want to deter tourists.
The Department of Health confirms today that two women who were in close encounter with the woman who tested positive for Zika at Barangay Benedicto in Haro, Iloilo City are now also affected by the virus. According to Iloilo City Health Officer Dr. Bernard Caspe, the two women living in the same house with the patient were found infected with the virus after going through an examination done by the Research Institute for Tropical Medicine. DOH says the two new patients showed only skin rashes, unlike the first patient who had symptoms like skin rashes, muscle pain, and red eyes.
May two new confirmed sa Zika virus. Is patri kita expect na ako na may aragid man because may mga contacts ang first victim mo.
However, DOH clarifies that the two women are not pregnant. At present, the patients have recovered from their symptoms, thus there is no need for hospital confinement. Meanwhile, Caspe confirms that there are many Aedes aegypti mosquitoes in the area which are carriers of Zika and dengue.
Damo isang Aedes na lamok dito sa Benedicto. So ang recommendation ng DOH is inside residual spraying kami sa the whole barangay. So that's almost more or less 530 houses.
City health officials will gather tomorrow the residents of Barangay Benedicto in Haro, Iloilo City to give them enough knowledge about what they must do to prevent the increase in number of mosquitoes and the possible increase of Zika virus cases. Aiko Miguel, UNTV News and Rescue, Philippines.
High officials expressed concern that disclosing information regarding the spread of Zika virus infection in the country would damage their tourism industry. Kat Dumaraos will tell us why.
22 new cases were confirmed on Sunday in the upmarket southern area of Bangkok, part of the city's central business district, including a pregnant woman who later gave birth with no complications. The health ministry on Monday urged Thais not to panic, as it said that the virus was not deadly or contagious, though in fact it can be passed on sexually, and an official added that it did not want to deter tourists.
เราก็จะประสานไปที่เขตนั้นเหมือนกันประสานไปที่ศูนย์เพื่อที่จะไปตรวจสอบที่บ้านของเขาหรือแหล่งตรงนั้นของเขาว่าใน100 เมตรของเขานั้นมีเคสผู้สัมผัสเพิ่มเติมมีผู้ป่วยที่ต้องinvestigate เพิ่มเติมไหมจากการประสานติดตามถึงตอนนี้ที่ออกไปดำเนินการตามเขตต่างๆก็ยังไม่มีรายงานเคสเพิ่มนะคะแต่ชนีลูกน้ำยุงลายลดลงตอนนี้ในทุกกลุ่มเนี่ยหมอว่าติดใกล้ศูนย์แล้วนะคะแต่หมอไม่ไว้ใจค่ะมีโอกาสที่จะเกิดขึ้นมาได้อีกถ้าเราไม่ระวัง
Health authorities in Thailand are not treating Zika as seriously as dengue, which is much more widespread in the country. But the official said the country is combating the risk by misting and spraying mosquito-infested areas.
The health ministry said they have been monitoring about 30 pregnant Thai women who have shown signs of the virus. 6 have given birth with no complications so far. Kat Dumaraos, UNTV News and Rescue, Bangkok, Thailand.
More than 2,000 residents of Matnog, Sorsogon benefited from the medical and dental mission of UNTV and Members Church of God International. June Soria will tell us why.
Over 2,000 residents of Matnog in the province of Sorsogon benefited from free medical and dental checkup, tooth extraction, eyeglasses, and medicines through the medical and dental mission of UNTV and Members Church of God International.
Yung mga tao nandito ngayon, mga galing pa yan sa mga liblib na lugar ng Matnog. Kaya nakikita natin marami sila kasi talagang ang hirap ng makarating ng tulong ng gobyerno dito sa mga lugar na to.
The residents expressed their gratitude as they were able to consult with doctors and specialists who are partners of UNTV in its advocacy to help our fellow men.
So ito pong ginagawa ninyo ay napakalaking tulong, lalo na po sa aming taga-Matnog. Ito ay isang oportunidad, kaya kailangan naming lahat na taga-Matnog i-grab ang opportunity kasi bihira po itong mangyari.
Matnog is a third-class municipality in the southernmost part of Luzon, which has a population of almost 40,000 people who are mostly poor. This is the reason why UNTV and MCGI immediately responded to the residents' request for a medical and dental mission.
Itong ginawa ng UNTV kasama yung Kamanggawa Foundation Corporation, talagang napakagandang halimbawa na sana magtuloy-tuloy, hindi lang dito sa bayan ng Matnog, kundi sa ibang probinsya.
Jun Suriao for Serbisyong Kasangbahay.
Coming up, Typhoon Ferdy maintains its strength as it moves closer to northern Luzon.
French Prime Minister Manuel Valls warns of new attacks, citing thousands of people are being monitored by the police. A dance troupe from the United States left its audience in awe with a thrilling performance on a cliff in central China.
More from Y News after this break. Typhoon Ferdy maintains its strength as it moves closer to northern Luzon. The Philippine Atmospheric, Geophysical and Astronomical Services Administration, or PAGASA, says that as of 4 p.m. today, it located the tropical cyclone at 165 kilometers east of Basco, Batanes. It is packed with maximum sustained winds of up to 215 kilometers per hour and gustiness of 250 kilometers per hour while moving west-northwest at 24 kilometers per hour. Tropical cyclone warning signal number 4 is still raised over Batanes group of islands. Signal number 3 in Babuyan group of islands. Number 2 in Ilocos Norte, Apayao, and northern Cagayan, while signal number 1 is raised over the rest of Cagayan, northern Isabela, Kalinga, Abra, and northern Ilocos Sur. Stormy weather will experience in area under signal number 2 3 and 4, while rains and gusty winds will also prevail over the area under signal number 1. Southwest monsoon is slightly affecting the country, in which light to moderate rains will experience over Metro Manila and the rest of Luzon, Western Visayas, Zamboanga Peninsula, and ARMM. Typhoon Ferdy is expected to exit the Philippine area of responsibility by tomorrow afternoon, although another tropical cyclone is also expected to enter PAR tomorrow and will be named locally as Hener.
U.S. presidential candidate Hillary Clinton is set to release more information about her health in the coming days. This comes after her diagnosis of pneumonia became public on Sunday as she left a ceremony at the 9/11 Memorial in New York City after becoming overheated. According to the Democratic candidate's campaign spokesman, they will go beyond releasing a letter with comprehensive medical history, family medical history, and a picture of Clinton's health. Hillary Clinton's campaign rival, Republican presidential candidate Donald Trump, promises to release his new health records within the week. Presidential settlements and humanitarian assistance begin in conflict-affected Syria, while a Russia fleet finally arrives in China. Eric Quinto will tell us why.
In Russia and the United States truce agreement in Syria begins on Monday, 7 p.m. Moscow time. A total of 608 residential settlements in Syria have joined the ceasefire, and nearly 200 of them have received a total of over 1,000 tons of humanitarian assistance. Sergei Rudskoy, the head of the Russian General Staff's main operations command, said Russia assures to take various measures, including using drones to oversee the U.S. implementation of the agreement.
Вместе с тем надеемся, что в этот раз наши американские партнеры выполнят все свои обязательства, и режим прекращения боевых действий будет полностью соблюдаться.
According to the Russian official, if successful, the initial 48-hour ceasefire can be renewed for another 48 hours at a time. Meanwhile, in China, the 8-day naval drill between China and Russia has begun in South China Sea today. Around 7 a.m. this morning, the Russian fleet pulled in the port in the province's Zhanjiang city amid exchanges of 21 cannon salutes by naval forces from the two countries. The Marine Corps, in particular, will carry out live fire drills, sea crossing and landing operations, and island defense and offense exercises, among others. China announced that it had called the routine naval exercise in July, saying the drills were aimed at strengthening cooperation and not aimed at any other country. China and Russia are veto-wielding members of the UN Security Council and have held similar views on many major issues, often putting them at odds with the United States and Western Europe. Eric Quinto, UNTV News and Rescue, Shanghai, China.
French Prime Minister Manuel Valls warns of new attacks, citing thousands of people are already being monitored by the police. June Garin will tell us why.
French Prime Minister Manuel Valls recently announced that there would be new attacks in France, warning residents to be vigilant and exercise caution at all times. The French capital was put on high alert last week when the French officials said they dismantled a terrorist cell that planned to attack a Paris railway station under the direction of Islamic State. Valls said there were 15,000 people on the radar of police and intelligence services who were in the process of being radicalized.
Propre territoire, le garde des Sceaux d'ailleurs le rappelait ce matin, 1350 personnes visées par des enquêtes qui sont aujourd'hui en prison. 293 le sont en lien directement avec des filières terroristes. Et on peut considérer, je comprends le poids de ces chiffres, qu'il y a à peu près 15 000 personnes en France qui sont suivies par...
Monsieur le Premier ministre.
Pas parce qu'ils sont dans un processus, parce que ces personnes sont dans un processus de radicalisation.
However, the Prime Minister said proposals to boost security was not the right way to deal with the threats at this time. Security is a key topic in the presidential elections in 2017, as more than 230 people have been killed in militant Islamist attacks on French soil since January 2015. Authorities were prompted to pay the French capital on high alert once again after a car loaded with gas cylinders was found near Notre Dame Cathedral last Sunday. June Garin, UNTV News and Rescue, Paris, France.
Malaysian long jumper Abdul Latif Romli breaks a world record in the Rio Paralympics Day 4. He twice broke the men's T20 long jump record, clinching a cold through a jump of 7.60 meters. Another record breaker is from Great Britain. Kadina Cox claimed a win in the C4, C5 500 meters time trial in a time of 34.598 seconds. She had previously won a bronze in the women's 100 meters class just the night before. And in the wheelchair tennis men's singles, Japan's Shingo Koneda and Argentina's Gustavo Fernandez prevailed in their respective second-round matches. New U.S. Open champion Stan Wawrinka shows off his new hardware at the top of the rock in the middle of Manhattan. Meanwhile, Arsenal and PSV Eindhoven train as the Champions League games kick off. Aaron Romero tells us why.
Arsenal trains ahead of their opening Champions League group stage clash with French champions Paris Saint-Germain. Arsène Wenger returns to the French capital and takes his team to the France for today's Champions League opening Group A match against PSG. Meanwhile, PSV Eindhoven say they are looking to draw on their home support for inspiration ahead of a challenging clash against last year's finalists, Atletico Madrid. PSV are unbeaten so far this season in the Dutch Eredivisie and are second placed in the league. Newly crowned U.S. Open champion celebrated his achievement at the top of the Rockefeller Center in Manhattan.
Yeah, it's feel amazing for sure, especially coming here. Amazing view of New York with the trophy. That's something special. I saw every picture of every winner of U.S. Open last 10 years, so I'm really happy to be here today.
This year's victory was worth $3.5 million for Wawrinka, who is only missing a Wimbledon victory to complete the coveted career Grand Slam. Sunday's win also qualified him for the season-ending ATP World Tour Finals at London's O2 Arena in November. Aaron Romero, UNTV News and Rescue, New York.
Malacañang Kamao head coach Luis Gonzalez says camaraderie among the team's players and coaching staff led to a victorious Sunday match. Bernard Dadis will tell us why.
Sinabi ko, itong team na to, dapat to maganda yung samahan. Ayun yung sa tingin ko naging key para sa success nitong game na to.
After a triumphant battle on the hard court against the Ombudsman Blockbusters, Luis Gonzalez, the head coach of the Malacañang team, now known as Malacañang Kamao, is even more confident of the solidarity within his team, more so the skills of his players.
I told them magtiwala lang sa sarili nila kasi wala na ako kailangan gawing adjustment dun sa laro. Basta magtiwala lang sila at just maging responsable lang sila na kung nararamdaman nila na gusto nilang itira yan, ititira nila.
Coach Luis' side upset the Ombudsman Blockbusters after a neck-and-neck ball game ending with 82-70. Leading Team Kamao was former PBL player Eric De La Cuesta, a first-timer in the league, who buried 22 points, grabbed 3 boards, and dropped 4 dimes before finally being hailed as the best player. On the other side, Coach John Calios steered the Ombudsman Blockbusters' plans to prep up his team even more and set up better plays in their next game.
Well, siguro mag-stay lang kami doon sa defense namin. Magtitiis lang kami ng konti sa pagod para masustain namin hanggang end of the game.
Despite a loss, the Blockbusters continues to target to mark a victory this season, which they were not able to attain in Season 4 during their debut at the UNTV Cup. They will next face the Senate Defenders on September 25.
Sana patuloy kaming suportahan ng mga manonood, no, na magbibigay kami ng magandang laban at magiging competitive yung team namin. Sana suportahan pa ulit.
Bernard Dadis reporting for UNTV Cup Season 5.
The Philippines has been named as one of the major diving business hubs in the entire Asia Pacific during a diving resort travel show. Brian Evangelista will tell us why.
A diving resort travel expo was held to showcase the exceptional beauty of our seas because we're the only country located within the center of the Coral Triangle. Diving resort travel is the biggest gathering of diving enthusiasts and marine conservationists. This is also where diving equipment and diving destination packages are sold at low price.
We want to create Philippines as one of the diving business hub in Asia Pacific.
With the cooperation of the Tourism Infrastructure and Enterprise Zone Authority or TIEZA and the Department of Tourism, the country is able to showcase and protect its diving sites within the Coral Triangle as it contains the highest concentration of corals.
Yung corals kasi, dun yung breeding ground, dun yung habitat, dun yung bahay ng ating mga marine creatures. Mapamalaking mga isda yan, yung tinatawag lang pelagics, o yung mga macro, ang tawag nila sa maliliit na creatures, macro.
I can say there's plenty of variety in Philippines. You know, when I say variety, it's like you're having a buffet. All sort of things that you need is here. It's just right here. So it depends on what do you like or what do you want.
For those fond of underwater photography, here are some tips on how to capture winning entry shots.
Then you need to have some time to stay there and wait for something magical to happen. You know, maybe it opens its mouth, or maybe it catches a fish, or something to happen. And the last one is the personal part, where you include a little bit of yourself to the picture to make it more creative and to show people that this was not an accident.
The Philippines has all kinds of diving, from dive beginners to specialty dives like wreck and deep diving. This is because of the diverse kinds of sea creatures present only in the country. The country is composed of 7,107 fascinating and enchanted islands. For those who want to learn diving and visit famous diving sites across the country, just visit the Facebook page of the ERC Travel Services, our ultimate travel companion. Brian Evangelista, UNTV News and Rescue, Pasig City.
A dance troupe left their audience in awe with a thrilling and death-defying performance. Dulce Alarcon will tell us why.
A dance troupe from the United States delighted tourists by performing vertical dances on a cliff face at Tianmen Mountain in central China's Hunan province on Monday. The dancers from the troupe Bandaloop gave their performances on Yuhu Peak at an altitude of around 1,300 meters. The dancers were equipped with safety ropes and performed various motions perpendicular to the cliff face. The vertical dance performance focused on the harmony between human and nature. The dances took into account the environment on the cliff, including the vegetation and the clouds in the sky.
This performance here are about not only the harmony of humans and natures, but that humans and nature are the same thing. That we are not separate from nature. That when we come here, we feel ourselves as part of the mountain. And just like we fall in love with another human being, we can fall in love with the mountain.
Many tourists visiting the mountain said that they were in awe of the performance.
非常非常的震撼，因为在这么高的这个悬崖上面啊，他们这么优美轻盈的这个舞蹈，就是他们这个挑战呀，也是我们人的一种极限吧。
The group's performances are a combination of body actions, choreography, and rock climbing technique, which make full use of public space. Since 1991, Bandaloop has been famous for dangerous but beautiful vertical dances on the surface of the skyscrapers and cliffs that are truly amazing. Dulce Alarcon, UNTV News and Rescue, Changchun, China.
Those are the reasons behind the news, September 13, 2016. I'm Angelo Castro III.
Reasons we deliver to you as they unfold. I'm Gerry Alcantara.
Because we need to know. We will always ask why. Thank you for watching Y News.